There are moments when we suddenly realize that happiness is not something we gain because someone appears in our life. Happiness is a seed already resting within us, simply waiting for us to turn inward and nurture it. The Buddha taught that peace does not come from seeking attention or companionship from others, but from understanding ourselves. In many cultures, being alone is often seen as loneliness or emptiness. But in Buddhist teachings, solitude is a sacred space where we pause, listen, and return to our true self. When we sit quietly without chasing the noise of the world, we finally begin to see what our mind is holding and which path can truly lead us toward inner peace. Lesson 1. Being alone is strength, not punishment. Growing up in the modern world, it is easy to believe that being alone is somehow wrong. People often associate it with being abandoned, forgotten, or lacking love and connection. However, in the teachings of the Buddha, being alone is not an empty space, but an inner landscape. It is not a punishment, but an opportunity. It is not about what is taken away, but about what can arise. Many people fear solitude because they only see what disappears when others are no longer present. But Buddhism teaches us to look at what begins to appear when the outer world quiets down. Only then can we clearly observe the deeper waves that have long been hidden beneath the noise, the busyness, and the expectations of life. In the moments when we are truly alone, we can hear our deepest thoughts, our forgotten emotions, and the subtle needs we never noticed while being swept up by the world around us. Solitude is the beginning of clarity. It is the mirror that reflects the true nature of the mind, untouched by the opinions or judgments of others. When we sit quietly with ourselves, we begin to see which fears have been holding us back, which dreams are calling to us, and what truly matters in our lives. This is the kind of clarity no loud conversation or external distraction can give. Solitude is also the place where inner strength is cultivated. When we stop relying on others to feel complete, the heart becomes steadier and more grounded. The Buddha taught that the one who knows how to rely on themselves cannot be shaken by praise or criticism, by the arrival or departure of anyone. This is the highest form of freedom. A person who finds peace in their own stillness does not easily fall when faced with emotional storms or the pressures of life. They are like an ancient tree with roots reaching deep into the earth. No matter how strong the winds blow, the branches may sway, but the trunk remains unmovable. That is why solitude is not about what you lack, but about what you can gain. It is a gift that helps you grow, become clearer, and stand firmer each day. Simply spending 10 minutes a day, sitting with yourself without any device, and watching your thoughts as an observer can bring profound transformation. The more you understand yourself, the less anyone can disturb your peace. This is the true strength found in being alone. Lesson 2. Create a personal universe. When we begin to recognize the strength that comes from being alone, another doorway also opens. It is the ability to build a rich and inspiring inner world. Many people fear silence because they believe it contains nothing but emptiness and boredom. But the truth is the exact opposite. Being alone is like standing before a blank canvas. No one decides what that painting will look like except you. And only when no one is pulling your attention away do you finally have the chance to ask yourself what truly makes your heart come alive. The Buddha taught that the mind is the greatest creator. If you know how to nourish it properly, it can become the birthplace of joy, creativity, and deep understanding. Solitude is the perfect time to try things you have never dared to try. Read a new book. Learn a skill that has sparked your curiosity for a long time. Sit in meditation and observe your breath as if it were the most honest conversation you have ever had with yourself. Write a few lines in your personal notebook. Paint something even if you never believed you could paint. These moments do not need witnesses to have meaning. They are valuable because they bring you closer to your natural creativity. A meaningful part of your personal universe is the small rituals you create for your own soul. It might be brewing a pot of tea and sitting quietly for a few minutes before the day begins. It might be taking an afternoon walk just to feel your footsteps touching the earth. It might be writing a few words of gratitude each night to remind yourself of the beautiful things still present in your life. These rituals do not need to be complicated. Their meaning lies in the consistency, in giving yourself a dedicated moment where you are not rushed and not distracted. When you start filling your alone time with things that make your heart bloom, solitude is no longer something to avoid. It becomes something you look forward to. A space no one can take from you, where you can be fully yourself without fear of judgment or comparison. From today, try creating a small ritual of your own, and each week explore one new interest. You will begin to see that the universe inside you is far wider and more magical than you ever imagined. Lesson 3. Master the art of deep self-conversation. When you have begun building an inner universe of your own, the next step is learning how to have a deep conversation with yourself. This is one of the most important practices in Buddhist teachings, because the mind is the most faithful companion you will ever have in this lifetime. The Buddha once taught that no one can bring us more suffering than our own mind, and no one can bring us more peace than our own mind. That is why the most important relationship you can cultivate is the relationship with your inner world. A deep conversation with yourself is not about sitting there and accusing or blaming yourself. It is a journey inward where you listen to the truth you have long abandoned. Instead of asking harsh questions like, "Why am I so weak?" or "Why am I not as good as others?" begin asking questions that are more honest. What truly frightens me? What makes my heart blossom? What do I genuinely want to create in this life? What do I need to let go of so I can feel lighter? These questions are like keys that unlock deeper layers of consciousness, where you can look at the pains that were never spoken and the dreams you have not yet touched. Journaling is a wonderful tool for this journey. When you write things down, the tangled thoughts become clearer, and you begin to notice emotional patterns you never saw before. Each page becomes a gentle mirror, one that does not judge but simply reflects what is happening inside you. Meditation is also a way to converse with yourself. When you sit still and listen to your breath, the noise in your mind slowly calms and your true inner voice begins to rise. It is not the voice of panic or comparison, but the voice of understanding and wisdom. One essential principle of inner dialogue is observing without judgment. When a negative thought appears, look at it the way you would look at a cloud drifting across the sky. Do not fight it. Do not hold on to it. Simply acknowledge it. If you notice yourself being too harsh or critical, gently shift that voice into the tone of a kind friend, someone who listens with compassion and offers encouragement. Each night, write down 5 questions for self-reflection. Doing this consistently will help you see the subtle movements within your mind, and from there, live with greater clarity and peace. Lesson 4. Break free from the trap of constant entertainment. When you have learned how to have deep conversations with yourself, you will begin to notice something else that is equally important. It is the reason why most people are not truly comfortable being alone. It is not because solitude is frightening, but because our minds have become accustomed to running away from themselves through all kinds of stimulation. In modern life, phones, social media, movies, music, and games appear with just a single tap. These forms of entertainment are not wrong, but when they become your only emotional support, you lose your ability to be still and you lose your connection with your inner world. That is why every time the noise fades, you suddenly feel restless and empty. The Buddha taught that the human mind is always trying to avoid uncomfortable truths. Instead of facing fear, sadness, or insecurity, we look for something to fill the space. The more dependent we become on external stimulation, the harder it is to hear our true inner voice. Entertainment at that point is no longer joy, but a distraction from the things we need to heal. And when we do not understand the roots of our suffering, we keep running without knowing where we are going. Notice how you react when a room becomes quiet. Many people immediately reach for their phone as a reflex. Not because there is something important to check, but because silence makes them uneasy. If stillness makes you feel anxious, it is a sign that the mind has become too dependent on stimulation. It no longer knows how to stand on its own. It is afraid of facing the thoughts moving beneath the surface. Yet it is precisely in that silence that the path to healing begins. Buddhism teaches that when the mind is no longer pulled by external forces, it naturally returns to a state of inner steadiness. To do this, you do not need to drastically change your life. All you need is 15 to 30 minutes a day, living in complete silence without any devices. No music, no videos, no social media. Just sitting, breathing, and observing your thoughts as if you were watching clouds drift across the sky. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. The mind will look for reasons to make you pick up the phone. But if you have the patience to stay with the silence, you will begin to sense something strange. The initial restlessness fades. A gentle clarity begins to appear. Once you get used to stillness, you will realize you do not need as much as you thought to feel whole. Instead of consuming content passively, shift toward nourishing and active activities like reading, journaling, meditating, painting, or taking slow walks. These practices not only bring your mind back to itself, but also open a door for you to see more clearly what truly brings you happiness. When you are no longer trapped in the cycle of constant stimulation, you return to being the master of your inner life, no longer allowing the noise of the world to dictate your emotions. Lesson 5. Cultivating the strength of stillness. When you begin distancing yourself from the constant stimulation of the outer world, you will discover something else that is deeply important. Peace does not only come from reducing external noise, but from the ability to stand firmly within your own inner stillness. Most of our insecurities do not come from circumstances, but from the feeling that we are not enough, that we need someone to validate us, love us, or pay attention to us in order to feel valuable. Yet in the teachings of the Buddha, the worth of a human being never comes from the eyes of others. It comes from the awareness that you were whole from the very beginning. Silent strength is the confidence that arises from within, without needing praise, recognition, or anyone to witness it. It is the steadiness that frees you from needing to prove anything. When you walk with this kind of stillness, you no longer need to be the center of attention to feel meaningful. You know deeply that you are enough. And that sense of completeness cannot be taken away by the arrival or departure of anyone. In daily life, many people only feel good when they are praised, loved, or noticed. But if your worth lies in the hands of others, even unintentionally, your emotions will be guided by them. A cold glance can make you doubt yourself. A small criticism can ruin an entire day. And even an unintentional silence can make you feel abandoned. When you depend on the reactions of others to define your identity, you hand over the key to your emotional world. This leaves your heart in a constant state of waiting and instability. The Buddha taught that the root of suffering lies in attachment and the fear of losing what we cling to. When you cling to approval, you fear the day it disappears. But when you return to yourself and cultivate the strength of stillness, you no longer need those things to feel valuable. You live by your inner truth, like a lamp that shines on its own without anyone having to light it. Meditation is a powerful tool that helps you distinguish between fear and truth. When you sit quietly and observe your thoughts without interfering, you begin to see clearly which voices do not belong to you. They might be echoes of old wounds, expectations from others, or fears of judgment. When these layers fall away, you encounter a gentler and more genuine voice. It is your intuition. It is your wisdom. It is the purest part of you that no one can take away. And when you choose to live by that voice, you are no longer guided by fear, but by clarity. To build silent strength, you do not need grand efforts. Start with small but meaningful practices. Take a walk alone without your phone so your mind can truly connect with your steps and breath. Eat a meal slowly without rushing, without screens, simply tasting the food and sensing your own presence. Each day, write down 3 things you trust about yourself. This nurtures your inner confidence, independent of being seen or acknowledged by anyone. When you know you are already whole, you stop chasing any form of validation. And when you are no longer shaken by praise or criticism, your presence becomes gentle yet powerful, quiet yet profoundly deep. That is the strength of stillness, a strength that no one can break, because it is born from within you, from the most peaceful and steadfast place in your heart. Lesson 6. Turning solitude into a journey of self-discovery. When you have built the strength of stillness and learned to rely on yourself, you begin to see a deeper layer of solitude. Being alone not only brings you peace, it opens a path of inner exploration that you could never reach while your mind is still caught in the opinions and judgments of the world. For many years of our lives, we move around wearing invisible masks. We do what society considers right, we chase goals that others say are necessary, and we believe things that may not have come from our own hearts. Only when we are truly alone, untouched by external influence, do we slowly begin to see which voice is genuinely ours and which ones are echoes from the outside. In Buddhist teachings, solitude is like a mirror. It does not add anything, it does not decorate. It simply shows you the truth of who you are. And the most beautiful thing is that this truth has always been there, patiently waiting for you to become quiet enough to see it. When you spend time alone, you can ask yourself questions that your busy life never allowed you to consider. What truly makes me feel alive? What feels right from deep within? If no one were watching or judging me, what kind of life would I choose to live? These questions open a doorway that leads you back to your real passions, your real direction, and your real beliefs. Journaling becomes an essential part of this journey. When you write down your feelings, joys, and sorrows each day, you start to notice the patterns within yourself. When does your heart expand, and when does it tighten with worry? What hurts you, and what brings you peace again? These entries become a small map guiding you into the deeper layers of your being. They help you understand aspects of yourself that you have long overlooked, and they support you in healing the hidden corners no one else can see. Meditation also plays an important role in this process. When you sit quietly and observe thoughts passing by, you begin to recognize which ideas are tied to your ego and which are attachments shaped by circumstances. You realize you are not your old stories, not your fears, and not the limitations others have placed on you. Your true nature is the calm and luminous awareness behind all the movements of the mind. Once you see this clearly, you are no longer bound by the definitions others have projected onto you. Another important part of self-discovery is trying new things. When you are constantly surrounded by people, your choices are often influenced by their preferences, expectations, or opinions. But when you experience life alone, you discover what genuinely resonates with you. Try learning a new skill, listening to a different genre of music, visiting a place you have never been, or simply changing the way you spend your morning. These experiences help you uncover parts of yourself that you have never explored. To deepen this journey, write an emotional timeline each week. Note the moments when you felt light, the moments when you felt heavy, and the times when you felt the strongest connection to yourself. Each month, dedicate a full day to yourself, a day not arranged to please anyone else but simply to explore something new. You will begin to see that solitude is not emptiness, but a clear mirror reflecting the most authentic version of who you can become. Lesson 7. The paradox of presence. When you begin to feel the freedom that comes from discovering yourself, you will notice another transformation, one that is deeply rooted in the teachings of the Buddha. It is the understanding that true happiness does not come from having someone beside you, nor from the things you hold on to, but from your ability to be fully present in this very moment. Presence is the bridge that connects you to the wholeness already within your heart. And the strange thing is that the more present you become, the less you feel the need for others to make you feel complete. When the mind is trapped in the past or worried about the future, it creates a sense of lack. Lack of what was lost. Lack of what has not yet come. Lack of confirmation or love that we believe must come from others. It is this sense of lack that makes us fear being alone, always wanting to fill the emptiness with someone's attention or presence. But in truth, that is not the need of the heart. It is the echo of a mind that has never truly been still. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we live in what has already passed or in what has not yet arrived. Happiness is found when we return to this present moment. When you are truly present, you are not pulled back by the past nor drowned by the future. You stand steady between both currents like a peaceful island. From this state, you do not feel lonely because you are connected to yourself. You do not feel lacking because your mind is not dwelling anywhere else but here. Presence allows you to see things exactly as they are, without adding or subtracting. You begin to realize that much of the loneliness you once felt did not come from the absence of people but from the absence of yourself in that moment. You could be sitting with someone and still feel lonely because your mind is wandering away. But when you return to your breath, to each step, to every sensation in your body, you will see that you were never truly alone. You always had yourself in the present moment. Another important teaching of the Buddha is the letting go of attachment. When the mind clings to something outside itself, it will always fear losing it. Fear that people will change. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of not being loved the way you hope. But when you live in the present, you gradually understand that nothing truly belongs to you. Everything is changing. People come and go like clouds drifting across the sky. When you release your grip on them, you no longer suffer when someone leaves. You no longer place your worth in their presence. You live with the freedom of a heart unbound. To practice presence, you do not need to do anything dramatic. Begin with simple steps that have quiet but profound impact. Try walking slowly for 5 minutes each day without any device. Just feel the breath, the feet touching the ground, and the sounds around you. Each time you feel the urge to pick up your phone to escape a feeling or fill an uncomfortable space, pause for 10 seconds and ask yourself, what am I running from? This question brings you back to yourself, helping you see clearly what is happening in your mind. When you live in full presence, you do not need anyone to make you feel complete. Those who come into your life will be appreciated, but you do not depend on them. Those who leave no longer break you because you do not cling. You live in freedom, in gratitude, and in harmony with yourself. The paradox of presence is that the more fully you are with yourself, the less lonely you feel. And when you find joy in this very moment, you realize that happiness has never left you. When you have walked through all of these lessons, you may begin to realize that solitude has never been emptiness or loneliness. It is a doorway into freedom, a place where you return to understand yourself, heal yourself, and rediscover the purest source of energy within you. Happiness does not lie in having someone hold your hand through every part of the journey. It lies in your ability to hold your own hand through every moment of your life. From today onward, see your time alone as a gift life has given you and you alone. When you honor that stillness, you will discover a simple yet profound joy that has always lived quietly in your heart.